someone who can watch you while you sleep and convict you of thought crime, and whose rule cannot be challenged, and who's the big brother whose eternal reign may not be disputed. That makes the concept of the pursuit of freedom and happiness.
Well, hello, folks. I think from now on, I'm going to grab one little thought from somewhere, idea or whatever that caught my attention over the years and just expound upon it for 10 minutes or so and leave it at that. Yeah, I want to share articles, but I don't think people really care that much. And I doubt that people read anything. So, you know, I've noticed on social media, if you post anything against Biden, if you say anything bad about him, a whole bunch of people come back at me and say, that must mean that I want Donald Trump to be president or something like that. Or if I say something bad about that state in the Middle East that starts with an I, that's closer to the Mediterranean than the Caspian Sea, and is at war with a country, or sorry, with a prison in their territory that they run and control, and starts with G, and that are thought of by most of the world as committing G. You know, I'll get accused of being an anti-S or anti-J or something like that. Because obviously, if your daddy does something terribly wrong, it's okay because he's doing it for the right reasons. We're rationalizing justification machines, hubristic animals, very special animals, but animals nonetheless, and very hubristic. I would never accuse a gazelle or a lion of being arrogant. But we're conscious creatures, aware of ourselves with self-awareness. And we all tend to think that what we inherited by accident through birth and our stochastic, random, bizarre experiences and choices throughout life makes us special, knowledgeable, aware of the truth. I know my opinions don't matter. They're just what I'm talking about at the moment. And I also know what I don't know, which is almost everything. So I know that a Lumix GH6 is a pretty good cinema camera if you need a cheap one. For certain use cases, I think so anyway, that's my opinion. And I know that through my experience using the tool. But I really don't know much about the GH6 or other cameras that compete with it because I have no experience with those other cameras. Usually if we rent something, there's a cinematographer, a whole, photography team responsible for the equipment and its use. And I don't get involved as a producer in that. So I don't know anything about it. I'm ignorant. But we tend to think we know. And so, posting any articles, I still will because I'm looking at them and I think they're kind of important current events to think about. But, it won't help you. It won't help me. It won't save the world. It's not going to change the social paradigm. Pardon me for using the term paradigm. It's not going to bring peace to the world or sustainability or restore ecosystems or bring health back to the oceans or get rid of microplastics and forever chemicals or anything like that. It's not going to do anything. Most people just won't delve into things. And if they do, they'll be like me, I guess, kind of social signaling that they're somehow righteously aware of what the fuck the predicament is. And so what? What are we doing about it? Not much, if anything, probably nothing. We're not pushing back against our leaders. We're not organizing within our communities, volunteering for various things. Maybe a lot of you do, and you give to charity and so on, but this is practically nothing. It's like recycling. Recycling isn't helping at all. We have to change our relationship to energy and materials and manage the whole thing better to make a difference. The rest of it's just kind of like marketing, public relations, greenwashing. It's just trying to make us feel good in an impossible situation. And for most of us who are wealthy, relatively wealthy compared to what, we don't care that much. We want to maintain our position, our wealth, and we want to get wealthier. We want to have more things. And we're still on the hedonic treadmill. We're working our asses off to be able to afford our addictions. And yes, shopping, sex, gambling, there are all kinds of addictions. And they become deleterious addictions when they impact your life in negative ways, whether it's drinking, wine on Fridays, but drinking too much of it, like I do. It's like, okay, I'm just going to have 5 glasses over the course of the day. That can't hurt me too much, can it? It's like, I'll just have a couple glasses in the afternoon during the sunset, or at the beach, I'll have a beer or two or whatever. And maybe it doesn't hurt me at all. It doesn't unless it interferes with the rest of my life and my sleep, my microbiome, my gut microbiome, my general health, my brain function. And a lot of it's too late for me now because of my habits over the years. But one can maintain one's kidney health at the moment and regenerate the liver through lifestyle changes, and also feel better during the day if one's had a good night's sleep. So I made a little bit of a suggestion. It was facetious. I was pretending that I'd been writing to Biden, asking him to mind his health, and some person took offense to that I was like reinforcing the meme that Biden's, out to lunch. Well, he is out to lunch, and I've never liked him, but that's just me. I think he's a warmongering hawk. I think he's a sellout. I think he's committed crimes, just like DJT. I don't like these people. I don't like most people in Congress. I don't like the system in which they evolved and emerged. And unless they're standing up to neoliberalism as we know it today, and it is the thing if you want to look into it, they're not my people. So, I've gotten back into listening to Christopher Hitchens recently because he was uncompromising in his intellectual honesty and his desire to fight for the right to say and think and read and inquire into anything that he wanted to. I have some books in my collection, like this one by Christopher Hitchens, written at the end of his life. He had cancer. At this point, he was being treated for cancer, which I guess was one of the main reasons why he passed away, if not the reason. But of course, there are chains of causality woven into everything. So it's more complex than that. But if you want to put cause of death, you could put cancer. Anyway, arguably, it's a big, thick book. I have an electronic version of it, and I would buy an audiobook version of it if I can get one, because I appreciate it. The reason I keep books covered in plastic is because one day, soon maybe, all of this, electronic networks are going to go away, and we're going to wish we had something to read. And I want to have something to read other than the Bible and the Quran and the Bhagavad Gita and, other classic books that might be around or forced upon me at such time when panic mode strikes and people are looking for, supernatural elements to save them from the horror, or pointing their finger at everybody else, scapegoating and blaming and killing, basically, people who don't belong to your clique, your tribe, whatever. So I'm going to just do that from now on. Try to spare whoever might want to watch one of these videos. And I'll just tell you right now, the disclaimer, these are my thoughts, ideas, and feelings, my opinions. And, I'm not trying to argue with you or make you believe something or to change your mind. I'm hoping that maybe you'll encounter something interesting or new. Maybe it's not original. I've never had an original thought in my life. But it might be something that might, pique your interest or otherwise be interesting to you. So that's all I'm doing. That's all I'm going to do. I don't have time right now to worry about production values for my little videos, as if I ever did, because I'm doing another project that requires serious attention. So I don't have time for that, and why would you care? Anyway, that's what I'm going to do moving forward, and I just wanted to tell you about revisiting Hitchens. I think he's worth reading, worth listening to, even if it rubs you the wrong way. In the mid-'90s, I was firmly in the camp of skepticism and agnosticism, really moving towards atheism and so on. But after a period of time, I was less agitated by people of faith because there's so many of them, and they're decent people, most of them. So I just don't think it's worth being agitated by people who believe in stuff, because we all believe in stuff. I posted some quote by Richard Feynman on that score today at Globe Hackers Facebook. Also, these social media platforms, they're going to be censoring more and more in coming months and years. The powers that be are going to try to lock down their opportunity to control everything before it's too late. They're always doing that, and they're going to continue doing that. Our species runs rampant over the planet and always has since it became an expansive, conquering, civilized species. If you count like ancient Babylon and so on, civilized, or let's just say, the Bible, the Quran, or ancient texts as springing forth from civilization. Big city-states and so on and so forth, agriculture, taking our ability to create tools and to use fire to ever more destructive and amazing, fantastic levels. At the end of the day, the fire ape comes up with nuclear bombs and neutron bombs and so on and so forth. That's pretty amazing. The Large Hadron Collider, we're burning through our fossil fuel stocks. At some point, we're really going to not have much left. It just is going to occur because we have a limited supply, whether we like to think about it or not. And maybe some technologies or some other energy sources will allow us to get to oil and gas reserves that we can't get to now in the future. Who knows? But by then, will our ecosystems be able to support our global civilization, materialistic consumer civilization at this scale? I doubt it. That's we're going to go through degrowth whether we like it or not. So we have to redefine growth. You know, are there ways to grow that don't involve going to the Congo or some other country and ripping the resources out of their ground and using child labor to get it, and so on and so forth? Blood diamonds, blood cocaine, blood rare earths. You know, do we really have to go to war with China to get the rare earths to make magnets and computer chips, whatever? War is extremely destructive to life on Earth, ecosystems, and to people, full of suffering and horror and hell. It's biblical. You can read about it in the Bible. It's never been a nice thing. And yet we can't make peace. So imagine, or listen to John Lennon or whatever. Can you even imagine? Anyway, our current system is extremely destructive, even though it creates a lot of cool stuff. You know, I've flown on a lot of jet airplanes my whole life, and I own a car and so on. So I am not virtue signaling. I am not off grid. I am not a sage. I'm just a normal person like you are. But we're going to go through degrowth in many forms, but we can find other ways to grow, other ways of life that are even more satisfying, more joyous, more generous, more peaceful, more healthier than what we have now. I truly believe that. But people have to wake up to the fact that this particular way of organizing and managing things that we have now is not ideal, in fact, is very destructive, regardless of what Steven Pinker has to say about it. And I like Steven Pinker. But, you know, we have a problem, and it's deep, and it's going to get worse. Of course, you say I'm a doomer or a collapse-crazed weirdo, but the evidence is there if you choose to look at it. Empirical evidence. The data is there. Our experience, we're experiencing it. And people in other countries in far Eastern Europe, countries that start with R and C, are experiencing it as well, and they know the price they have to pay for this global conflict that doesn't have to exist. So war is hell. It's bad, and we should get rid of it. So we're going to have to do things on a global basis. Culturally, we're going to have to cohere and coalesce and figure things out. And then we can still have local culture, obviously live locally because we live where we live. I don't live omnipotently, omnipresently around the world at all times. I have had experiences around the world, but I live here now, like most of us. I pine for the past. I'm nostalgic. I remember Barcelona before it was covered in Airbnbs and tourists and so on. I remember when it was Castilian, you know, I remember those things, and it was beautiful. And I miss it. But it's going to come back. There will be a time where this place where I live now is full of industrious, hardworking, fun, loving, beautiful people. It is now, trust me. But the young people are going to come back to the villages, the families, the children. I will hear children outside my window playing in the future if I live long enough, and if we don't destroy global civilization in the meantime. If I die before then, at some point in the future, there will be children playing outside my house in the streets, You'll be able to hear them laughing and whispering and giggling and running. And they won't all be in high-rise apartment buildings in the city. The idea that everybody's going to be in urban paradises, walking cities and so on, is probably not going to happen just because of energy and material constraints. But of course, if they were designed properly, we could have better cities. We have to get rid of automobile infrastructure to have better cities. We don't need to give so much to cars, you know, roads, parking, underground parking. Oh my God, you know, we don't need it. I would be very happy to walk around Lisbon, cycle around Lisbon, take an electric bus, a subway here and there. I would be happy if they had emergency vehicles in Lisbon, fire trucks, police cars, ambulances, specialized transportation for the elderly and for children. But we don't need all the cars in Lisbon or London or Denver or anywhere else. It's idiotic. Everyone on the planet doesn't need an electric vehicle, and electric vehicles aren't going to solve our problems. We still need all the materials to make the batteries and everything else for the electric vehicle, and we're going to have to replace them all the time. If you look at how complex a wind turbine is for wind power, it's mind-boggling, and the amount of materials required to make one. So yeah, Nate Hagens and all of his guests, as well as Planet Critical and lots of other lovely podcasts and YouTube channels. There are so many, and they do such a good job. And I can't do a job as well as they can. They do it so well, I'm not going to even try. I don't even fantasize about that. I'm just kind of curating or sharing from my own personal perspective because I want to. So I'm crazy. I'm nuts. So that's the future of this particular channel. I'm going to start another one at Cospelon, which is going to focus on, how to live during the transition, kind of thing, but not prescribing it, but just, again, curating some ideas in short form. And because I have a lot of experience as a nomad, and I want to share that with you all, and maybe make some suggestions or give you some ideas about what it's like to live abroad. Also, I saw on 4th of July a big gathering of over 40 expats, residents, retirees, and so on from the United States having a 4th of July party at a hotel here called the Serena. And I just felt so sad because, I need to go to places like that because I have an international medical insurance business, and people who live abroad need the kind of products that I represent, that I broker. So it's always good to meet other people like myself here and there, communicate with them. But it's hard for me to get along with them because it seems today that people stick to their ideological cliques, and you have to be very guarded and careful about what you talk about with anybody these days, because if they sense you might be interested in something that they don't like, it comes from another cable news information bubble, they might just shut down and not even consider you as any kind of acquaintance, much less be friendly towards you or do the work over time to develop a friendship with you. You're like, sorry, not my cup of tea. I know people who are MAGA people, and I'm not MAGA at all in any way, shape, or form. I think DJT is just an idiotic, ignorant con man, a performer, a dark triad type person. That's my opinion. You might love him. But I'm not going to hold your beliefs against you because I think people don't even know where their beliefs come from half the time. So you're just kind of like reflexively believing what you believe, and maybe you're emotional about it, committed to it. I don't want to, throw forth the fighting words and get in an argument about something that doesn't matter. I mean, honestly, you're living in Portugal, you're retired, you like Donald Trump. All right, you chose to leave the United States and live here, so enjoy it. I mean, why bring American politics with you? Well, we tend to think that it's important to the world what America does, and it is. So we get excited about it, and that's just normal. But I wouldn't hold it against you. I would look for things about you that I liked, that, commonalities, things we can talk about, things we appreciate, whatever it is. You might like to go bowling with me. I can bowl with you without talking about anything I'm intellectually curious about, And if you just want to talk about war stories from your past, wax nostalgic all day, I'm willing to listen to you. Tell every story about your triumphs and tragedies and your family history. I'm always curious about that stuff. Whatever you want to talk about is fine with me. Yeah, I'm always fine with just going along with whatever a person wants to talk about, because I can't change anyone's mind. I don't want to try to do it. I'm too old for that. And even when I was young, back in the 80s, there was a quote. It's not an exact quote, but it comes from the Situationists, Guy Debord, Society of the Spectacle. Somewhere in there, he said something like, "We argue to discover, knowing we can't injure ourselves." And I've been repeating that phrase for decades, because that's what I feel. So if I have an argument with a really good friend, a close friend, it's not going to kill our friendship. We're just trying to learn from each other, flex our intellectual, wordy, chirping brains, share some feelings, some emotion. It's not a big deal, It's fun, and one can learn from debate and argumentation and differences of opinion and so on. So you may have many ways to build a house or whatever, many ways to look at an elephant and so on and so forth. And they can all be valid in certain ways. Nobody knows the absolute truth of everything. So we should remain epistemically humble and take on empiricism as far as we can, and appreciate everything we have in this crazy world. So that's kind of housekeeping. I'll leave it there. And next time I'll make something pithy about some idea I've been chewing on for decades or bumped into during the morning. Okay, take good care. Thanks for listening. Buliam T. Out.